All right.
All right. We're connecting to YouTube now, and there we go. Welcome everyone to Color Hacks Day 2. This is Saturday, February 20th, and hope everyone slept well last night. Enjoyed the workshops earlier this morning. Coming here again is your co-founder, Dooney Dio Coyote. Dooney, what's up, man?
Doing good, doing good. Kind of hectic, all the back-to-back workshop and live interviews, but yeah, it's been good so far. Darren's been helping out and all that, but yeah, take it away, Darren. Introduce yourself to the people, man.
So, if everyone didn't know, I'm Darren Perkins. I'm Dooney's friend. He's invited me to be a co-founder of Color Hacks, and yeah, I'm just helping out.
Yeah.
All right.
Right here is Ricco Phinisee. He is the he's the head coach of the Boston Celtics Gaming esports community. I was lucky enough to get connected with them through Scotty, and he is for the live interview.
Yeah, Rico, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Good, good. Yeah, thanks for hopping on. We know you're really busy with the combine draft and all those things going on, so we really appreciate you taking the time to come on and encourage the participants, the students, and really just, tell them your story. Make sure they know, how do they get to where they want to be in life.
Absolutely. The youth is important to me, so absolutely.
All right. So I guess, Dooney, why don't you get started?
Yeah, so kind of like I said, like introduce yourself to people. Like, who are you as a person? Like, I know you're the head coach of the Boston Celtics esports team. Like, take us like just walk us through like your daily life and like just who are you as a person, starting from before that and now who are you now?
Well, before I got this job with the Boston Celtics and got into esports, I was a student. I was actually in for acting. I was in LA, went to college in LA Valley. Also was taking classes at UCLA for theater. I really was into just acting and like doing a little bit of stand up and improv. And then while I was in college, I've always been like a big gamer my whole
Yeah.
life. I was a big athlete my whole life. In high school, it's a funny story. In high school, I actually uh, did improv and acting in high school as well. I went to one of the best private schools in the Southern Hemisphere when it comes to academics and athletics. Um, Played with Barry Sanders Jr., his Barry Sanders' son, Sterling Shepard with the New York Giants right now. All those kids were freshmen. I was a senior, so I was always big into sports. And when I got to college, um, I really started like it was just football. It was literally football class and video games. So I decided to host my own tournaments in my dorm room with like Madden and 2K tournaments. And I really started to grow in the community, in the 2K community when I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got out of college, I was still doing acting. I was still involved with the 2K community. And then out of nowhere, the NBA decided to get involved with 2K and 2K community. They wanted to have their own league because they saw how active the 2K community was and how talented the players were inside of it. So they had to like be a part of it and have their own league, their own esports league. So the NBA created their own league called the NBA 2K League.
Mm-hmm.
I know I had to be a part of it, whether it was a player or a coach. I know I had to be a part of it, but I feel like I'm more of a coach because I feel like I was getting a little older. A lot of the young guys coming in, I was not good like I used to be. So I was just fortunate enough to continue to network. And
Yeah.
someone from the Boston Celtics who was a, I guess I say it was like kind of like an investor with the Celtics. And a friend of theirs kind of like introduced me to the Celtics, recommended me to the Celtics. I really started off. I really started off just like as a contracted scout for the Celtics for Celtics gaming, and I kind of worked my way up each season. I was a part-time head coach, and then the following season I was a full-time Celtics employee. Not just a Celtics gaming head coach, but a full-time Boston Celtics employee. And that's when I really moved out here to Boston. And settled in. Because before I was just flying back and forth in the off season
Mm-hmm.
and just flying back and forth and working at that time. But now I'm a full time employee, and it's been an awesome journey.
Yeah, so like you talked a lot about like how going from like LA from like doing acting class, and then like did you talk about the journey leading towards you, like, you know, starting the esports and like community and like trying to get into the esports community? I know for a fact that like you're probably not the only one with like that type of like mindset or like that type of goals. Like, what advice would you give to someone with that type of aspirations, those type of aspirations?
I would say don't lose faith. I know it like might seem at times that you're not going anywhere, or like you don't have a chance. But I would say stay consistent at what you're great at, and try your best not to lose faith. Even if you do lose faith, man, it happens to everybody. Sometimes I lose faith in certain stuff when it comes to this job because it's very tough at times. But also, it's very fun. But somebody who is trying to get into esports, especially as a professional, you have to know like this is kind of like the wild wild west right now. This is all new to everybody, so you're gonna have ups and downs. So you just got to get prepared for the journey, with the ups and the downs as well. So just stay with your past, set your goals, and just stick with it.
Good, I like that. So kind of like you said, like stick with your goals and like, you know, if you lose faith, just keep going. Like, what experiences, like your high school experiences, your college experiences, like, you know, improv and sports and education and like being a coach, like what experiences from those things as like kind of derived you towards that point of view of like, you know, don't give up and just always like, you know, keep striving no matter like whatever pushes you down and whatnot.
Yeah, so I'll say high school. I was in high school, like even before high school, all my life I was always been like the smaller guy. So like my parents kind of instilled in me that I had to be at least one of the smartest, hardworking, or the strongest or fastest. So I was always one of the guys on the team that was always working the hardest. If I wasn't the strongest on the team, I was for sure the fastest one on my team. So kind of like my coaches too instilled that into me as well in high school. I was kind of like a knucklehead my freshman year in high school, and like my strength and conditioning coach was like super hard on me. Like he came back from he has like a Marine special ops background, so he was like super disciplined and strict. I think that coach right there like really like instilled that into me. That's why I'm so kind of like disciplined and strict on things what I do with my schedule, practice schedule, scrimmages, and especially with my players. I was like a knucklehead, so I can understand like where these players are coming from and where these young people who are trying to get into esports are coming from, and kind of like knuckleheads, kind of like all over the place sometimes. So I think that was a great experience. Is coming in as a knucklehead. I had a lot of talent, but I was just a knucklehead. And like he was just so hard on me. Like, man, like you have all this talent. Like you need to be on time for practice, because like in the off season we had our football program where it starts at 5 o'clock in the morning, and if anybody on the football team was 30 seconds late, the whole 60-man roster on the football team had to run around the whole campus if that one person was late. So I was coming in freshman. I thought I was a hot shot. I thought I just knew everything. I was talented, all this stuff, right? So I come in and I'm a minute late, and like the whole like imagine coming in the practice facility, you walk in, it's like 60 people looking at you. All your teammates are looking like heated, so mad at you. And I'm like, what's going on? And then like I see Coach G, that's his name, Coach G, strength and conditioning coach. He comes in and he's like, all right, you're 1 minute late. Everybody on this team has to run. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm only 1 minute late. So everybody like is yelling at me and like cussing at me and like just so mad at me because I'm like not being accountable. Because if one person is late, the whole team is accountable. You have to pay that price. So after that, I was like, all right, I'm never going to be late again. I'm going to be on time for film. I'm going to be on time for practice, classes, all of that. So that would like really like just woke me up, because like seeing 60 people staring at you and like all mad at you is just like kind of like change your whole like life kind of. So yeah, like, those experiences in high school. And then when I got to college, I'm from Oklahoma City. Like, so moving from Oklahoma City to LA is like a huge culture shock. So I get there and it's like, I'm a big shot too. I was supposed to go to Clemson. That didn't work out. So I had a good chance to go to San Diego State and UCLA to play football if I just go to JUCO college for 1 year. Came in as a hot shot. I thought I was like knew everything once again. I came into film session and I kind of like didn't know what I was supposed to do. Like I had like homework to do and I didn't do it. And my coach is like, you know what? you're not starting for 3 games. I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? You're not starting for 3. You don't know anything of the plays. You don't know any of the schemes. Like, why are you even here? So I'm like, all right, I have to lock in. Like, this is like totally. This is college. This is LA football. It's totally different. So I just locked in, like just studying and like because I had so many classes, and then you have so many classes. You have film sessions. You have 2 days of practice. You have weight programs. Like all that stuff is like packed on you. And like being 18 years old, like moving from Oklahoma City to like LA, like right out of the gate, it's like so much pressure and like so much like stuff like you have to manage.
Yeah, yeah.
So like this is like where I learned how to manage pressure and also manage like the activities I need to have in order so I can achieve greatness on the football field and also in college. Me also in class. So I just started like breaking everything down to the smallest terms so I can understand it, so it can like apply to me like in class and also on the football field. So that's when I can learn like management. Time management is like at that particular time, like when you're in college, is like you have no time for like like out of the realm stuff for your regular schedule. So I was doing that. I time managed. Once I got great with time management, then that's when I started adding in like doing like tournaments in my dorm room. Like I think if I didn't really hone in on my time management, I don't think I would be here where I'm at right now, because I think I'll be kind of like all over the place. It's like not having free time and just like stressing about everything. So if you're in college, if you're trying to like be an entrepreneur too, like time management is like literally everything. If you're not great at time management, like you're going to be in a bad case scenarios and a lot of times. So that's what I kind of learned my time management. And then like when I graduated from college, I kind of like applied all of that and just seeing like it's going to be a marathon. It's going to be a journey where you're trying to get to sometimes, especially you're in acting or in esports. All this stuff is new. Like nobody's doing this before. So sometimes it's going to be a journey. Sometimes you're going to have like a quick opportunity. And when you get that opportunity, you got to capitalize on it, because not a lot of opportunities come as big as this. So I was just so blessed and like just being consistent with what I was doing. When I had this great opportunity with the Boston Celtics, they was interviewing me for like 4 or 5 months. Like this is like an ongoing process. It wasn't like, all right, come in, interview, and like we'll send you something if you like it. It was like ongoing. Like there's a lot of applicants coming in and out. They were interviewing me for like 5 months, 4 months, and then like I just locked it in. I was just got lucky and locked it in. Like not as lucky, but all the things that I've done in the past added up to where it was just easy and I stood out from everybody else. So yeah.
So yeah, that's a lot of great information. To be honest, I feel like this is really helpful to like the people, especially the people watching like high school, the people that are trying to progress to that next level. And you talked about like capitalizing, like learning, like time management, stuff like that. Like how have those like those experiences, like that mindset kind of like helped you being a coach with like esports being a wild west right now, like you said. Like last week I saw that Netflix hosted I think an Apex Legends competition, and Amazon Prime just started its own gaming community. So like, how are you able to like keep up with all these, like using those mindset like as a coach?
Like I said, I just keep it simple as possible. My first season, as a coach, I was kind of like all over the place too, because it was so new. Like I was kind of like set up practice schedule. Sometimes teams didn't show up, so I had to kind of like make up for the gaps of the teams not showing up on time, or players not like really locking in because they never had like a job before. A lot of these players never had a job before. So it's like, not only am I a coach and I'm like managing the schedule and the content and all that type of stuff, I'm also like kind of like being like a big brother or a dad, because like some of these guys never like lived on their own. So I remember one time I was helping out this guy like setting up his curtains in his shower, like it's like he never like lived on his own. So it's like sometimes what else? I help one of my players like shop for groceries and like how to use an oven. Meanwhile, like I have like big meetings coming up in like an hour, and like one of my players calling me up like, hey, like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm burning everything up in the apartment. Like I need your help. So I'm like running to his apartment, because like at the time the practice facilities is like right across the street from the apartment. So I was like about to be in a meeting. So I'll run across the street to help him with his groceries and like make sure he doesn't burn out an apartment. And then like I heard him run back into a meeting while I was sweating. I'm like kind of like 5 minutes late, and like so it's kind of like all over the place. You really, in esports, you really don't know. Like I'm not gonna lie to you. Like some days I have this set schedule, then out of nowhere, it's like I have to drop into like 2 other meetings, or I have to drop into like checking on my players and make sure his well-being is all right, or like one of my players wants me to train him in the gym. So it's like all over the place, especially when the season starts. When the season starts, you literally don't know what's going to happen. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I always have great goals and like a set schedule, so all the players know where they have to be and what we're going to be doing in the upcoming days and weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you literally don't know what's going to happen because it's like the wild, wild west.
Yeah. So kind of like you talked about like being like the father and like the father figure in those people's lives, and like kind of like helping them like set their own goals and like kind of like get them in that mindset. I know for a fact like you didn't just start out that way. You kind of like evolved into that type of like mindset. Like when did that evolve and like kind of start for you? Like evolution. When did that start for you?
I mean, my dad really. My dad was always my little league football coach, and like he would always draft. He'll always get players who are very talented, and like a lot of those players were like in like unfortunate situations at home, and he really became their father figure. Like just seeing like my dad become like a father figure for like 40, 30 different kids every year, and like coaching them up and like making sure like they're well fed and well taken care of, making sure they're going to school, because sometimes the kids would skip school. So he'll always drive by their elementary school and make sure they're in class. So that was like my dad was like a big like father figure to a lot of people. And like I looked up to my dad, like seeing my dad do all of that and also be in my life like every single day and like taking care of me and like enforce some discipline, all that type of stuff every single day was like huge to me. And then like when I got into high school, I was seeing like my strength and conditioning coach, Coach G, doing the same thing. Also, when I got into college, my defensive back coach was like the same thing. And like once I got into the head coach position and I started getting players around me, all that stuff kind of like added up to me. Like, oh wow, like this is what they're saying to me. Like this is why they want me to do this certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And like once I understood that, sat back and understood that, I started to apply that to my team, and like players like love me. Like all like the prospects and the draft pool want to be here because I really care about players' well-beings and what they do outside of 2K. And I want to see them achieve greatness in life so they can take care of their families and take care of themselves. It's not just about 2K about me. I really care about these players and what they do outside of 2K. So just kind of like just seeing my dad and like my coaches throughout my whole football experience, just like fell on me and just came naturally.
Okay, that's good. I feel like that is like really essential about like having that person in your life, because like I have one, like my brother, like he's one, like, well, even I do have a father, but he's like kind of been like the person I looked up to, because like we were the closest in like the sibling, even though he is 6 years ahead of me. We were closest, and like I would always like try to emulate every single thing that he used to like tell me to do. And like you talk about like how you see like now like everything's connecting together. Like I talked to Scotty about this in like in an interview before, like now like everything is like kind of like coming together. I'm like, wow, like because like before you would tell me to do all these like different things, I'm like, why are you telling me to do these random things? And now everything's just coming together and just like playing a big role in my life. And like why do you think like that person or like that evolution was like necessary in your life?
I mean, it's not really some people. It just depends on you yourself. Like some people might not think it's important at all. I mean, me, I think it's important because, like I said before, a lot of these players come from broken homes and like just don't have any type of discipline or understanding like the other set goals outside of 2K. Like 2K, like playing in this league, I've literally seen very talented players come in this league and play 1 year and just like disappear. Now it's like, what are you gonna do now, like with your life? So it's like, once I get these players in Boston in our market, like I give them simple rules so they can understand like this is not just about 2K. I'm not just saying this so you can 2K. I'm having you apply this to your life. So when you are done with 2K, you can go this route with your life. But if you don't listen, you can end up over here and start way back where you came from, and now you're starting all over again. You're trying to like understand what's the next step for you. So if you just listen to these simple, being on time, respecting your teammates, respecting management, being accountable when nobody's looking, that's big. Being accountable when nobody's looking, having discipline when nobody's looking is big, because if you're not doing what you're supposed to do in the dark, it's going to come out in the light. So
Yeah.
if really little simple things is going to apply easy to your life. So say like also too, we have junior Celtics program where we do talk to the youth. We do have situations where we having this is gonna be big too around the whole NBA 2K league. Trying to get players into taking college courses, is getting prepared outside of 2K because 2K is not like 2K is the NBA 2K league is a situation where you can go far or you can literally have 1 year and you're just like out of it. It's not it can't even be your fault sometimes. You don't perform or your team doesn't perform, and they feel like you're a part of that. So you're like back as a free agent, and some teams just don't pick you up. So it's like, now what do you do? Like, this is only for 6 months. The season is only for 6 months. After that, like, you're on your own. What are you going to do now? Like, what are you doing in the offseason? Like, what are you doing to further your career outside of 2K? Like, what are you going to do in the esports? Are you going to do management? Are you into something else? Are you going to do you want to be a doctor? Like, what do you want to do outside of this? Because this is not always promised. So that's why I kind of like instill that into my players. Like, you have to have discipline. You have to have accountability. You have to be on time to everything. You have to have respect how you talk to other people.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, the stuff you mentioned, outside of esports, what else do you want to do? Because, working with Dooney and Darren and Kobe, I've been telling them the same thing, do what you can right now, get into college. If you want, do something in tech. If you don't want to, that's fine. Pick something you want to do, at least build some foundation for your life, not just your career, but your life. And then if you hate it that much, okay, at the least now you have the money, you have the experience to say, let me switch jobs and you get promoted. Well, you know what? Maybe I'll travel the world for a year, just kind of figure out what's going on. And I think, kind of like you mentioned, a lot of it is having that team, having that coach. And, I know for Darren, obviously Dooney in Chicago, Darren being near DC, it's a little trickier for them coordinating with each other. But, I guess, Darren, for you, coming from the DC area, do you feel like, working as a team, it's beyond just, are you near each other?
Sometimes, like, he's an hour behind me, so sometimes I would like wake up before him and I would go to sleep after or before him too. So like, he would ask me a question while I'm asleep, and sometimes it's hard, but sometimes we work out. It works sometimes.
Yeah, it's that time management again.
Yeah.
I mean, and most of the time, to be honest, like, even though he is like an hour ahead in front of me, like, I do end up waking up before him sometimes because I try to wake up at 5 a.m. because I gotta make sure I get in my stuff in before school starts. But like, yeah, we do try to like get our stuff together. And like, whatever I can't figure out, we're like with them. I just try my best. Google's always been my best friend from the start. I always go to Google, try to figure that out. And if it's something I do need, them, I just wait and be patient, just knock anything out, and just like, yeah.
Yeah, I guess, Ricco, for you as a coach, you probably have a lot of that as well. Some of the athletes being in different locations and all that, right?
Yeah, all over the place. We have international players. We have players all over the U.S. So, yeah.
Yeah. I do have a quick question. I know with esports, you could have players from anywhere, but you also mentioned having the practice facility and all that. How often do you bring the players into Boston and all that?
What do you mean? So in the NBA 2K League, once you're drafted to your team, you are living in Boston. Like, you're living in the market that whatever team that drafts you. So say some like the Atlanta Hawks drafts Dooney, he's going to live in Atlanta. So when we draft our players, they move into Boston. We have our apartments in the practice facility in Boston, like in downtown Boston, in the Celtics front office. So like, you're literally in Boston.
Okay. So like earlier you talked about like you kind of like helping people and like making sure like their life outside of 2K and like the NBA 2K league is straight, and like making sure like that's not like just making sure they have a plan B outside of NBA 2K league. Like, how, and like I know you've kind of like grown as a coach, and like, 'cause I'm not exactly sure how long you've been doing this, but I'm pretty sure you've been doing it for more than 2 years, which is enough experience to kind of like grow through being a coach. So how exactly like do you want your growth as a coach like impact others and other people who are likewise a coach like you?
That's a good question. I would say, I would say that knowing your player and what their goals are outside of 2K, like kind of really can help like their performance and also getting them to trust you.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I did too with our point guard that we recently traded. He's a superstar. He became a superstar. Um, everybody like everybody thought that OFAB, that's his name, OFAB, the point guard. Everybody thought that he wasn't going to be good or he was going to be okay. And I got to know him as a person. I got to know what his goals were. I got to know what he needs to work on outside of 2K. And first, before I did anything with him, I got him to trust me. Um, and I think my growth from college and to being a first year after a particular time that we drafted him, my first year being a head coach in esports was that I got players to trust me. So they got comfortable around me where they can be themselves.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how, I'm telling you this right now, no matter how talented your team can be, you can draft them or players being around you, if they're not comfortable in their environment or they're comfortable with the coach, they're not going to perform well. They're not going to give them the best their best selves. So I got my players to trust me one by one, just getting to know their parents. It's crazy too because I've grown into I'm accustomed to talking to players' parents a lot, especially during the season. So,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of these parents are like kind of like scared that their kid is leaving the house uh,
Yeah.
for 6 months. So, like all the parents, I make sure all the parents have my personal number so they can call me at any time. They have my email and my personal number. So, anytime that they're worried about their daughter or their son, they can always call me, always
Mm-hmm.
FaceTime me. Little stuff like that came in my growth as head coach. It's like allowing the whole family to trust me and the player to trust me, so they can be themselves and they can grow as a person while they're with me in Boston, and also as a
Mm-hmm.
player as well. So that has been big in my growth. I'm known kind of as a player coach, but yeah, little things like that became big in my growth.
Yeah.
I'm just all about the players like
Mm-hmm.
outside of 2K. Like that's why I'm big too in the NBA 2K League for as being known as the esports trainer in NBA 2K League because I train a lot of esports players. I train a lot of NBA 2K League players. I help our superstar player who we just traded lose 115 pounds. I help a lot of players around the NBA 2K League hit their fitness goals, and that's big too because a lot of these guys never had someone who pushed them outside of 2K when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to their fitness and take care of their
Mm-hmm.
well-being. And that's been big too in my evolution of a head coach because my mom and dad has always been strict on me um, when it comes to my classwork, when it comes to working out and being on time and make sure I'm giving 1,000% effort. So I kind of apply that too as well in my growth as a head coach is telling my guys to give me 1,000% effort when it comes to watching film, when it comes to scrimmages, when it comes to the game, when it comes to when you do want to train and work out with me in the gym, you got to give me 1,000% effort. So it kind of like all that stuff is added up into my growth and my evolution as a head coach.
Yeah, I feel like that's just really great stuff because like you talk about like your parents and your father like kind of being your mom and your father and your dad trying to like being like that person, those people who like push you and like make sure you give like 1,000% and like trying to emulate what they gave to you,
Right.
trying to give it to other people and like making sure like they're able to step off of that. Like who else would you like to thank apart from your parents? Like who have you encountered in life that kind of like, oh, I like this person or this person like giving me great advice? Like who else would you like to thank?
Yeah, I would say my coach in college. Also, too, Jim Ferris, who's my boss, my managing director. Um, he's taught me a lot, like kind of like um, the pros and the cons when it comes to every little thing. Like I used to think of like making decisions, like okay, this is great, this is gonna work out 1,000% of the time. Like he kind of gives like anytime like I evaluate a player, he's like, all right, so these are the pros and these are the takeaways. This guy is extremely good at this, but his personality can be a little risky. Are you 100% sure that you're willing to take a risk on this player because of his past personality? Like all that type of stuff I kind of applied to my life. Like anything I do in my life, I'm like, all right, cool. I like this. I want to do this, but what are the cons to doing this? What is the takeaways from doing this or not doing this? So like, I never thought about that before. Like I just thought like, once I make the decision, like it's whatever. But my boss is like Jim Ferris. He's like always he's always like just telling me like the pros and cons of everything. Like that's what like I really want to thank him about. Like just taking risks. If I believe in something or someone is taking a risk and kind of like growing from that situation, if it does work out or if it doesn't work out, and like the support system that I have from the Celtics is like I want to thank the Celtics as well because this job is like extremely difficult and like stressful at times. You just never know what's going to like happen in your day-to-day life. You just like don't know. So it's like I'll say my boss Jim Ferris is like another person I want to thank as like my whole transition into being a full-time Celtics employee. This is like my first corporate job. Like I went from like LA, like doing like acting gigs and then like interviewing for like 4 or 5 like months, right? And then like I'm coming in now, I'm like in the front office, like before COVID and all that stuff happened. Every day, like I went from that and then doing improv and all that in LA, then like into Boston, walking to the front office of the Boston Celtics every single day, like just working with like amazing, talented people in the front office. Getting the chance to talk to Brad Stevens a few times is like it's just like amazing. You know what I mean? So it's like I want to thank my boss Jim Ferris.
Yeah.
That's crazy because you mentioned being able to talk to Brad Stevens. I'm starting thinking, man, I went to Duke. I don't know how he feels about you talking to me right now.
He's the real like the way how he is in front of the camera when it comes to the media. When it comes to like talking to his players, he's really like that. Like he's really like laid back. He's a big number person. Like he cares about numbers and like performance. He loves numbers and performance and like small goals, like setting goals. He's like really big on that. And like I learned from him as well too, is like setting small goals, knowing that it's a process and like building to where you want to go and like kind of like follow your numbers of like the goals that you set and like kind of figure out how can you enhance them and how you got to where you're at. So yeah, I learned a lot from him as well.
Yeah. A lot of data analytics, data science, just making sure, all right, I know the stats, points per game or minutes per game. Well, what does that mean? Well, let's break it down and analyze it. So I'll tell you one thing, if Brad Stevens gives you a hard time, I'll talk to Jason Tatum.
Yeah, that's funny. I'm cool with his high school coach too, Coach Bennett. Yeah, so at Chaminade in St. Louis. So
yeah,
I'm also he's also a mentor to me too. His coach, Coach Bennett.
Yeah, and coaches, mentors, teachers, the amazing people in our lives. We also definitely want to thank you for being willing to come on and mentor these participants, and also deeper level with Dooney, Darren, Kobe, and all that. So really appreciate your presence. We know it's a really hectic time for you. I guess you've talked about your whole life, how you got started when you were just like anyone watching this to where you are now and stuff like that. I think obviously the key message the whole time for anyone watching is wherever you are in life, take care of yourself, but also try to take care of others. Be there for each other. When you have that team, when you have that support structure, you can go pretty quickly. You can go fast on your own, but you go further with a team. So definitely, want to give credit like you did to your teammates all along the way, everyone, and then obviously here as well. Dooney and Darren and Kobe working together. So anyone who's watching this, same thing. We hope you find your teammates. Definitely take care of each other. Work together. We look forward to seeing what you can build. You'll also make sure to leave some contact information in the video description for Ricco. And, if anyone wants to reach out, feel free. Definitely try to make sure, if you're doing anything related to esports, if you have some good data analysis, hey, maybe Ricco and his team will be hiring you or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure having you, Ricco. It was great, amazing. Really hope that the draft and everything goes well for you. Put in a good word with the Duke guys on the Celtics. Not too much, so Brad Stevens doesn't come looking for you.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks a lot.